Ladies and gentlemen, let's not waste time with sweet lies. Let's face a hard truth. Many men are living stupid lives, not because they lack intelligence, but because they refuse to grow. Today we're not here to insult. We're here to confront, to awaken, to rise. Here are the 6 signs of a stupid man and how you can make sure you're not one of them. A man who constantly argues is not strong, is weak. He thinks his opinions are the ultimate truth, that if he speaks loud enough, long enough, people will believe him. But here's what he doesn't understand. Arguing is not a sign of intelligence. It's a sign of insecurity. The more he argues, the more he reveals that he is not seeking wisdom, he is seeking validation. Think about it. The man who interrupts, talks over others, and turns every conversation into a debate isn't trying to grow. He's trying to dominate. But dominance without substance is just noise. And noise does not build empires, it tears them down. The stupid man gets emotional when he feels challenged. He takes disagreement as disrespect. He doesn't pause to consider a new point of view because he's convinced that he already knows everything he needs to know. But here's the truth. The man who never listens never learns. The man who always argues is stuck in a loop of ignorance, defending old ideas instead of discovering new ones. Arguing is a form of resistance to growth. It's a wall built by ego to protect the comfort zone. And the comfort zone is where dreams go to die. A wise man is different. He doesn't fear being wrong. He welcomes it, because being wrong is an opportunity to become better. He listens, he studies, he says, "Tell me more," instead of, "You're wrong." That's not weakness. That's wisdom. George Bernard Shaw once said, "Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything." The stupid man cannot change his mind. He's too busy trying to win. But the wise man changes often because every shift brings him closer to truth. Here's something most people don't realize. Arguing is addictive. It gives a man a false sense of power. He walks away from a shouting match thinking he won. But what did he win? He didn't grow. He didn't improve. He didn't evolve. All he won was a battle of egos and lost the war of wisdom. The smartest men in history were great listeners. Socrates, one of the fathers of Western philosophy, asked questions more than he made statements. He knew that true intelligence is not about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions. But the stupid man doesn't ask questions. He makes declarations, loud ones, and in doing so he shuts the door to insight, perspective, and transformation. Let me tell you this. If you're the smartest person in every conversation, you're in the wrong conversations. The stupid man surrounds himself with people who agree with him because it makes him feel important, but it also keeps him ignorant. The wise man sits at tables where he can be challenged, stretched, and sharpened. Why do so many men fall into the trap of constant arguing? Because it feels like strength. It feels like leadership. But real leaders don't argue. They influence. They don't shout. They inspire. They don't react. They respond. A man who has mastered himself doesn't need to win arguments. He wins through example, not volume. You see, when a man is truly confident in what he knows, he doesn't need to prove it. He doesn't need to convince anyone. Truth speaks for itself. The louder you scream, the less people believe you. The more you argue, the more you reveal your desperation to be seen as right. But greatness isn't about being right. This is why the stupid man stays stuck. His pride is louder than his purpose. His ego is stronger than his curiosity. He fights for his point of view, even when it's killing his potential. But the moment a man becomes humble enough to say, maybe I don't know, is the moment he starts becoming powerful. So ask yourself, are you arguing to learn or just to be heard? Are you listening with the intent to understand or with the intent to reply? Are you growing or just grinding the same thoughts over and over? The stupid man sees a disagreement as a threat. The wise man sees it as an invitation to grow, to see more clearly, to sharpen his understanding. Every conversation is an opportunity to rise, but only if you have the humility to admit you don't have all the answers. You don't become better by winning arguments. You become better by asking better questions, by being quiet long enough to hear truth when it knocks, by admitting when you're wrong. That's not stupidity, it's strength. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. That's not losing, it's leveling up. If you want to rise in life, stop needing to be right all the time. Start being open. Start being teachable. Let go of the pride that forces you to defend outdated thinking. Truth doesn't fear inspection. Wisdom doesn't run from contradiction. And greatness is never found in the noise of argument, but in the silence of reflection. So, be better than the man who argues. Be the man who learns. Be the man who listens. Because real power isn't in being loud, it's in being wise. A man who refuses to take responsibility for his life is not just lost, he's dangerous. Not to others, but to himself. The moment a man begins to blame everyone and everything for where he is in life, he forfeits the one thing that could change everything, his power. You've heard it before. It's not my fault. They betrayed me. The system is rigged. She hurt me. This is the anthem of the weak. This is the soundtrack of a man who's chosen to be a victim, not a warrior. Blaming others feels good temporarily. It lets you escape the heat of your own decisions. It gives you someone to point the finger at. But every time you blame, you give a piece of your power away. You shrink. You become smaller than your potential. A stupid man thinks life happens to him. A wise man knows life responds to him. When you blame others, you build a prison of your own design. The bars are made of excuses. The lock is forged by your ego. And the only key is personal responsibility. But most men will sit in that prison their whole lives, convinced that freedom is someone else's job, that change is someone else's responsibility. Here's the truth. No one is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your friends, not the government, not God. Yes, you may have been wronged. Yes, life may have been unfair. But what you do next, that's on you. You can't control where you started, but you absolutely control where you end up. George Bernard Shaw said, People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances, he continued. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want. And if they can't find them, make them. That's the mindset of a man who takes control, a man who refuses to blame, a man who builds instead of begs. A stupid man avoids the mirror. He fears it, because the mirror reflects his own laziness, his own procrastination, his own self-sabotage. It's easier to say, "She broke my heart," than to admit, "I ignored the red flags." It's easier to say, "My boss is unfair," than to ask, "Have I truly given 100% at work?" It's easier to say, "Life is hard," than to admit, "I've been soft." When you blame, you stay the same. When you take ownership, you evolve. Blame is an emotional drug. It numbs the pain of failure, but it also numbs the possibility of success. Because as long as it's someone else's fault, it's someone else's job to fix it. You can't grow if you don't believe you have the power to change. Responsibility is heavy, but it's also liberating, because the moment you say, "It's my fault," it's the moment you can say, "So, it's my job to fix it." That's power. That's freedom. That's the mindset that builds empires, families. Let's be real. We live in a culture that teaches men to hide behind blame. Everything is someone else's fault. Society has conditioned men to believe that accountability is shameful. But it's not. It's sacred. It's noble. It's rare. A stupid man is always waiting for the right opportunity, the right partner, the right timing, but opportunities are not given, they are created. The wise man understands this. He doesn't wait, he builds, he works. He takes the punches life throws and keeps moving. He doesn't blame the storm. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you took full responsibility for it? No more excuses. No more blaming your childhood, your boss, your partner, your past. What if you said, "It's all on me now. My success, my happiness, my growth." That's the moment you stop being a victim and start being a force. Responsibility is not about guilt. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about taking the steering wheel of your life and deciding, "I'm not going to crash anymore. I'm not going to drift. I'm going to drive. On purpose, with purpose." Stupid man blame, smart man build. It's flexible. This world is full of distractions and drama designed to make you believe that someone else is holding you back. But that's a lie. You hold the pen, you write the story, and the story gets better the moment you stop pointing fingers and start pointing to yourself. Look in the mirror, not with shame, but with fire. Say to yourself, "If I created this mess, I can create the miracle. If I caused the chaos, I can build the comeback." That's the mentality that wins. That's the heart of a man who will not be defeated. So if you catch yourself blaming, stop. Redirect. Ask, "What can I do better? Where did I go wrong? How can I grow from this?" Because when you ask better questions, you build a better life. Remember this. You are not powerless. You are just afraid of your own power, but once you embrace it, once you take responsibility for everything, you unlock the door to everything you want. A man's future is not decided by luck. It's forged in discipline. But a stupid man doesn't want discipline. He wants comfort. He wants the easy road, the soft bed, the quick reward. He avoids anything that requires effort, sacrifice, or discomfort. And in doing so, he signs his own sentence for a mediocre life. Comfort is seductive. It whispers lies like you've earned this, or take it easy, you've got time, and most men believe it. They trade their dreams for distractions. They trade long-term greatness for short-term pleasure. They live on autopilot, drifting through days with no urgency, no fire, no direction. A stupid man fears discipline because he doesn't understand it. He thinks it's punishment. He thinks it's a cage. But the truth is, discipline is not the enemy. It's the key. The very thing he avoids is the one thing that could change his life. Discipline is what separates men who dream from men who do. It's what turns vision into victory. It's the bridge between desire and destiny. Without it, talent is wasted, potential dies, and life becomes nothing but a series of empty promises. The man who worships comfort lives in cycles. He starts things but never finishes. He gets inspired but never commits. He makes goals but never follows through. He lives for the weekend, dreads Monday, and repeats the pattern year after year, hoping life will magically get better. But nothing changes until he does. And nothing changes in comfort. Discipline is hard. Waking up early when your body wants to sleep is hard. Going to the gym when your mind wants to relax is hard. Saying no to instant gratification is hard. But you know what else is hard? Regret. Waking up at 50, realizing you wasted your youth. Looking in the mirror and seeing the man you could have been. Watching others win while you wonder what went wrong. That's hard. But you get to choose your hard. The hard of discipline or the hard of disappointment. George Bernard Shaw once said, liberty means responsibility. That is why most men dread it. And that's exactly what discipline is. Responsibility for your own freedom. The foolish man avoids it because it requires accountability. It requires ownership. A man without discipline is a slave to his impulses. He eats what he feels like eating, says what he feels like saying, spends what he feels like spending. He does what's convenient instead of what's necessary. And that's not freedom. That's weakness. That's chaos. A life ruled by emotions, not principles. But a disciplined man lives by code. He doesn't wait for motivation. He moves with intention. He trains when no one is watching. He studies when others sleep. He works when others party. He sacrifices short-term comfort for long-term greatness. He knows every rep, every hour, every sacrifice is building something bigger. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's about building habits that serve your future instead of feeding your feelings. The stupid man says, I'll do it when I feel like it. The wise man says, I'll do it because I said I would. And that difference, that small shift in mindset, makes all the difference in the world. The man who fears discipline will never know what he's capable of. He will die with his potential still inside him. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because he was too soft to find out, too comfortable to fight for more, too afraid to pay the price. Every great man you admire, whether in business, athletics, or leadership, got there through discipline, not luck, not talent alone, but relentless discipline, day after day, choice after choice. There is no shortcut, no hack, no cheat code, just the boring, brutal consistency of discipline. But therein lies the beauty, because if you can master it, if you can become the kind of man who does what needs to be done regardless of how he feels, you become unstoppable. Stupid men chase motivation, strong men build momentum. One fades, the other comes. Discipline is the foundation of self-respect. When you keep your word to yourself, you build trust with the most important person in your life, you. That creates confidence, that creates identity, that creates power. A man who trusts himself is dangerous. A man who knows he'll show up no matter what is a force. So, you've been living for comfort. Stop. Look around. Is your life moving forward or just floating? Are you growing or just existing? Are you proud of the man you are becoming? If the answer is no, you already know what's missing. It's not motivation. It's not opportunity. It's not time. It's discipline. Start small if you have to. Wake up earlier. Say no to junk. Put in one more hour. Read one more chapter. Show up one more day. Let discipline become your default and watch your life transform. Because when a man chooses discipline over comfort, he stops chasing dreams and starts building them. He stops wondering what if and starts living what's next. He becomes a creator, a conqueror, a king, not in title, but in action. And that, my brother, is a man no one can ignore. A stupid man believes he knows it all. He walks through life with arrogance disguised as confidence, mistaking loud opinions for wisdom and resistance to new ideas as strength. He's not open. He's closed. He's not curious. He's convinced. The tragedy, he doesn't even know how much he doesn't know. He's trapped inside the walls of his own mind, a prisoner of outdated thinking, and every time someone offers him a key, through advice, experience, or truth, he rejects it. Why? Because in his mind he's always right. And that mindset is a guarantee for failure. There's a reason the most successful people on earth remain teachable. They read, they ask questions, they seek feedback, they evolve. They're students first. The moment you stop learning, you start dying. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Growth stops. Perspective narrows. Opportunities pass. But the stupid man doesn't see this. He confuses knowledge with wisdom and facts with understanding. He might even be educated. But education doesn't equal enlightenment. A man can have degrees and still be foolish if he refuses to learn from life. Being teachable doesn't mean being weak. It means being wise enough to recognize you have blind spots. It means understanding that your perspective is limited and that the world is far bigger than your personal experiences. A man who cannot be corrected will eventually be broken, not by others, but by reality. Life has a way of humbling those who refuse to humble themselves, and when it does, it's not gentle. The teachable man isn't afraid to say, I was wrong. He isn't too proud to admit, "I don't know." He's not intimidated by smarter people. He seeks them out. He values the truth more than his ego. And that's why he grows. That's why he wins. Because every mistake becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes a stepping stone. Every conversation becomes a classroom. But the foolish man, he learns nothing. He hears only what confirms his beliefs. He surrounds himself with people who agree with him, who stroke his ego, who never challenge him. And as a result, he never evolves. He stays the same year after year, wondering why nothing changes, blaming others, when in fact it's his own stubbornness that's holding him back. George Bernard Shaw once said, "Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything." The stupid man doesn't change his mind. He doubles down, even when he's wrong, even when it's costing him opportunities, relationships, and growth. He confuses consistency with integrity. But being consistent in ignorance is not honorable, it's destructive. The teachable man is adaptable. He can pivot. He can update his beliefs when presented with better evidence. He's not married to his own opinion. He's loyal to truth. And because of that, he rises. He becomes the man others seek out for wisdom. The man who leads with humility. The man who builds empires, not on arrogance, but on learning. Think about it. Every breakthrough in history came from someone willing to question what others accepted, to learn something new, to think differently. Innovation is the child of curiosity. Success is the reward of teachability. Yet the average man resists growth. He fears it, because growth means change, and change threatens comfort. But greatness is never born in comfort zones. Greatness is born in the fire of feedback, the tension of correction, the humility of learning. A stupid man avoids mentors. He rejects advice. He despises correction. He thinks he's protecting his pride, but he's really protecting his ignorance. And the price is heavy. He loses jobs, respect, relationships, and time, all because he couldn't open his ears and close his mouth. The most powerful thing a man can say isn't, "I know." It's, "Teach me." That's not submission. That's strength. That's how leaders are made. That's how kings are formed. Not by standing on what they know, but by constantly expanding what they know. Life rewards the teachable. Doors open. People trust you. You grow faster, lead better, love deeper. Why? Because you're not limited to your own experience. You're borrowing wisdom from others. You're standing on the shoulders of giants instead of crawling through life pretending to be one. If you want to rise, drop the pride. Seek out those who know more. Read books. Ask questions. Take feedback seriously. And when you're wrong, admit it. Own it. Learn from it. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you dangerous. Because now you're growing. Now you're evolving. Now you're not just aging. You're ascending. A teachable man never stops becoming, and because of that, he never stops winning. A stupid man surrounds himself with people who celebrate his weaknesses instead of challenging his potential. He prefers to be the smartest in the room, the strongest in the group, the most dominant in the circle. Even if that circle is full of mediocrity, he avoids people who push him, who stretch him, who expect more from him. Why? Because comfort is easier than confrontation. Praise feels better than pressure. But here's the truth. A man who chooses weak company chooses a weak future. Your environment will either elevate you or erode you. The people you surround yourself with are either pulling you forward or holding you back. There is no neutral. Every conversation you have, every habit you normalize, every mindset you absorb is shaping who you're becoming. And if you spend your time with men who make excuses, who settle for less, who fear growth, you will become one of them. Not because you want to, but because that's how influence works. It's silent, it's slow, and it's powerful. A stupid man doesn't realize this. He thinks loyalty to old friends, old circles, or toxic relationships is noble. He tells himself they've always been there, or they understand me. But loyalty to the wrong people is betrayal to your purpose. Staying connected to people who do challenge you isn't kindness, it's compromise. And in the long run, it's self-destruction. The foolish man avoids excellence because excellence exposes his laziness. He doesn't want to be reminded of what he's not doing, so he avoids those who are doing more. He doesn't want to see what discipline looks like because it highlights his inconsistency. So instead, he surrounds himself with enablers, people who say it's okay when it's not. People who say you're fine when you're failing. People who comfort you in your chaos instead of calling you to greatness. Great men are not made in comfortable circles. They're made in places where iron sharpens iron, where egos are checked, where truth is spoken, where standards are high, where mediocrity is not tolerated. If you live as the least skilled, the least fit, the least wise man in your group, you're in the wrong group. Growth doesn't happen where you're celebrated. It happens where you're challenged. George Bernard Shaw once said, "The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, make them." That includes your circle. If you can't find men who push you, go find them. Build that environment. Change your circle. Because your potential is too valuable to waste on approval from people who don't expect anything from you. The stupid man stays loyal to dysfunction. He keeps the same friends from childhood even though they haven't grown. He stays in relationships that drain him. He hangs around complainers, gossipers, addicts, victims, and then wonders why he feels stuck. Your friends are your future. Your circle is your ceiling. If you're surrounded by 5 lazy men, guess who's the 6th? There's a difference between love and alignment. You can love someone without aligning your life with them. You can care about them without copying their behavior. You can wish them well without walking their path. Growth requires separation, not out of hate, but out of honor. Honor for your calling, honor for your purpose, honor for your future family, your legacy, your vision. A wise man knows this. Elevation requires isolation. At least for a season, there will be a time when you outgrow the rooms you used to enjoy, when the conversations that once entertained you now bore you, when the habits that once felt normal now feel like poison. That's not pride, that's progress. And it's painful, but it's necessary. You don't have to cut people off with hate. Just start rising. Your growth will naturally separate you. When you stop entertaining mediocrity, mediocrity will stop entertaining you. When you raise your standards, your circle will adjust or disappear. Let it. Not everyone is meant to go with you. Some people are part of your history, not your destiny. If you want to build a powerful life, audit your circle. Who's pushing you? Who's holding you accountable? Who's showing you what's possible? And more importantly, who's keeping you small, safe, and stagnant? You don't owe anyone your future, just because they were part of your past. The man who walks with the wise becomes wise. The man who surrounds himself with fools suffers harm. That's not just a proverb, that's a prophecy. And every day you're writing it by who you choose to walk with. A powerful man protects his circle like a king protects his throne. He doesn't let just anyone sit at the table. He chooses men who make him better, who challenge him to rise, who confront him when he's slipping, who don't flatter him, but sharpen him. That's the circle that builds empires. That's the circle that makes kings. So ask yourself, are the people around you helping you grow or helping you go nowhere? Are they building your future or blocking it? Are they calling you higher or keeping you average? A stupid man lets his emotions rule him. He lives in reaction mode, easily triggered, constantly offended, emotionally unstable. One moment he's confident, the next he's crumbling. He lashes out when angry, shuts down when hurt, and runs away when uncomfortable. He wears his feelings like a badge of honor, but in truth they're chains. Chains that keep him from growing, from leading, from becoming the man he was born to be. He confuses emotion with identity. If he feels something, he believes it must be true. If he's afraid, it must mean danger. If he's sad, it must mean he's broken. If he's angry, it must mean someone else is wrong. But feelings aren't facts. They're signals, they're indicators, not instructions. A wise man listens to his emotions. A stupid man obeys them. This kind of emotional immaturity turns a man into a slave. He can't make decisions with clarity. He can't lead others because he can't even lead himself. He avoids hard conversations, explodes in arguments, and blames everyone but himself. His relationships suffer, his career stalls, his reputation takes hit after hit, not because he lacks talent, but because he lacks control. A real man, a powerful man, masters his emotions, not by pretending they don't exist, but by training himself to respond rather than react. He doesn't allow a bad mood to dictate a bad decision. He doesn't make life-altering choices based on temporary feelings. He pauses, reflects, and moves with purpose, not panic. That's strength. You can always spot a foolish man by how he handles pressure. Give him a challenge and he cracks. Give him a slight and he explodes. Criticize him and he collapses into insecurity. Life will test you, people will disappoint you, and emotions will rise. The question is, are you driven by feelings or guided by principles? George Bernard Shaw once said, "The man who writes about himself in his own time is the only man who writes about all people in all time." And this applies to emotion too. Every man has moments of weakness, of fear, of anger. But how he handles those moments reveals who he really is. The strongest men are not those who never feel emotion. They are those who channel it, who use their anger to build, their sadness to reflect, their fear to sharpen. The stupid man takes everything personally. He's hypersensitive, reading insult into every word, disrespect into every silence. He turns every disagreement into a war, every correction into an attack. He walks around wounded, but instead of healing, he hardens. He thinks his pain makes him powerful, but it makes him predictable. Anyone can control a man ruled by emotion. All they have to do is push the right button. That's why emotional discipline is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's what separates boys from men. The boy throws tantrums when he doesn't get his way. The man adapts, adjusts, and moves forward. The boy plays the victim. The man takes responsibility. The boy blames others. The man looks in the mirror. If you want to rise in life, if you want to be trusted, respected, and followed, you must develop emotional resilience. That means not reacting to every irritation, not crumbling under every pressure, not needing the world to treat you a certain way to stay grounded. It means building a mind so strong that no matter what's happening around you, start with awareness. Most men don't even realize how emotional they are. They explode in traffic, spiral after rejection, or shut down after a tough day. They've normalized emotional chaos. But once you see it, you can confront it. You can begin to train your reactions, regulate your impulses, and manage your state. That doesn't mean you become cold or numb. It means you become wise. You feel fully, but you choose your response carefully. You no longer let emotions hijack your mission. You no longer let pain rewrite your principles. You no longer let temporary storms sink your long-term ship. People will still lie. Life will still test you. Loss will still hurt. But now you're equipped. You don't flinch. You don't fold. You don't react. You respond. And that is what makes you unshakable. The stupid man sees emotion as the end. The wise man sees it as the beginning of discipline. Every feeling is a message, but not a command. You hear it, you honor it, but you don't bow to it, of course. Because ultimately, your life is not built on how you feel. It's built on what you do, despite how you feel. Anyone can move when it's easy, but the man who moves when he's tired, who speaks peace when he's angry, who chooses discipline over impulse, that man wins. So if you've been letting your emotions run your life, it's time to take back the wheel. Master your mind, govern your mood, control your energy. Because the man who can control himself, his emotions, his reactions, his thoughts, is the man who can control his destiny. A stupid man is a slave to how he feels. But a powerful man, he's a master. And he moves with purpose, not permission. That's who you must become. Not ruled by your feelings, but ruled by your mission. That's where freedom lives. That's where greatness begins.